It takes a certain talent to make Canada one of America's closest allies, biggest trading partners, and historically friendliest neighbors to start questioning whether it even wants American products anymore. But that is exactly what Donald Trump has somehow managed to do with his tariff war against our neighbor to the north. This week, Trump threatened to impose new 50% tariffs on most Canadian goods, including wine and hockey sticks, starting on August 19th. Politico reports, quote, Canadian officials are warning that the new levies threaten to further tarnish the already damaged American brand and further harm economies in swing states like Maine and Michigan that have deep economic ties with Canada. Quote, I think we're getting into an ugly phase, said Canadian Senator Peter Boehm. If these are concessions, if there are concessions about getting U.S. alcohol back on the shelves, there's no guarantee that the consumer is going to go out and buy them. But Trump isn't just punishing Canada. Today, he announced a new wave of 10% to 12.5% tariffs targeting 60 trading partners set to take effect at 12:01 a.m. It's Trump's latest effort to rebuild his disastrous trade agenda after the Supreme Court ruled that his tariffs were illegal and unconstitutional back in February. And while Trump may love it, voters have pretty much had it with the Trump economy. The tariffs, along with Trump's war, are making everyday staples way more expensive, increasing fears of higher inflation and creating a lot of anxiety over the cost of living. Just as an example, 30-year mortgage rates have climbed to their highest level in nearly a year. Global oil prices surged past $100 a barrel today, driven, of course, by Trump's war in Iran. And according to AAA, the national average for gas rose another 3 cents today to $4.09 a gallon, compared to $2.89 before Trump's war. Politico reports a source close to the White House warned that new tariffs could hurt Republican midterm chances, saying, quote, everything that you do that's not focused on affordability is not helpful. When you announce new tariffs, it's not like, okay, well, let's see what they do. It's, oh, crap, those are the bad things. Joining us now to discuss those bad things is Jared Bernstein, former chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors in the Biden administration. Jared, it's great to see you. One question I have for you about all of this is whether Donald Trump has exposed a bigger problem, that Congress has given the president too much authority over tariffs.
Unquestionably, that's the case, and everyone should be very surprised that Congress, including Republicans, who, as you just suggested, are the ones who are really at political risk in the midterms, of course, Trump's not running, are looking at some very tough races precisely because the measures that you described, the numbers you just took us through. By the way, I thought it was great that you cited the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, 6.85%. That's through the roof, as it were, through the roof on the unaffordable house, if I may.
No pun intended,
people are, as you say, people have had it. I think the president's really opened a three-front trade war here, Catherine. One front against the Supreme Court, who consistently knocks down his trade policy. It's a pretty sympathetic Supreme Court, but not when it comes to these issues. Another front against the American consumer, and that's just exactly the wrong thing to do in this affordability crisis era. And then a third front on our trading partners, including Canada. So it's a mess.
So let me ask that question a slightly different way, which is, if Democrats win back the House and the Senate, should they make it a priority to reclaim tariff authority, regardless of who is in the White House in the future? So in a way that hems in a president, not just this president, but perhaps a Democratic president going forward.
Totally. I think they should. And I think those powers were given to Congress for a reason, in part to avoid the prospect of a president who had no understanding of international trade, but just had a very wrong-headed view about who's exploiting us and so on, something that Donald Trump's been struggling with for decades. I'd probably grab the war powers back first, because that just seems more existential and more consequential. But the fact that Congress just essentially has rolled over and let presidents, as you say, of both parties implement these, essentially shape international trade in their issue versus the kinds of more deliberative approaches to this critical part of global economics we've seen what a misfortune that is, and consumers particularly are seeing how expensive it is, especially under this regime.
Trump says his tariffs are working. They're a negotiating tool. How would you evaluate that claim?
False. Deeply false. And, look, at some level, it doesn't matter that much how I evaluate the claim. I mean, myself and my fellow economists have done some very solid research. We've shown that 90% of the tariffs are being passed through to businesses and consumers. There's new solid paper from one of the Federal Reserve banks showing that half of the firms are telling us they're still passing through tariff costs. So they're not done with this. It's continuing to pressure inflation. Inflation would be almost a point lower were it not for these tariffs. So that's what we've done. But what really matters here is the experience of the American people. They're essentially telling anyone who will listen to them, politician, media, whomever, that their biggest constraint right now is affordability. It is the cost of living. And between the war in Iran and the tariffs, this president and his administration are not just pushing in the wrong way on affordability, they're pushing really hard. I mean, you just showed that the gas price was below $3 a gallon pre-war. It's now getting close to $4.10 a gallon. The mortgage rate was just below 6%. It's now 6.85%. By the way, I did the calculation before coming on tonight. That adds another $2,300 a year to your mortgage payment. Okay, so this is anti-affordability policy, and I think that's what really matters. Eggheads like me can crunch the numbers all day, and I think we should. But people get which way is up when it comes to prices.
Yeah, I do remember talking with you pretty frequently when gas prices were painfully high during the Biden administration. And we talked all the time about how it would be great if there were a dial under the Resolute desk that would allow the president to turn down gas prices. But it feels like there may be a dial on the Resolute desk that allows the president to turn up prices in this administration.
I wanted to, you and I used to talk about this a lot, and the truth is that presidents typically get blamed for gas prices, and more often than not, their fingerprints aren't really on them. This is a rare exception. I mean, you can convincingly and straightforwardly connect this increase in gas prices to decisions made by this president. So in this case, yes, there's a dial. And not only does Trump refuse to turn it, but he's turning it, again, pretty hard the wrong way.
Yeah. Jared Bernstein, thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.